This Week in Startups is brought to you by Walker Corporate Law, a boutique corporate law firm specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis. We are here at This Week in Startups, taping live from Palo Alto, just a block off of University. I'm here with my co-host, partner in crime, Tyler Crowley. How are you doing, Tyler?
Doing good.
Nice to be here in the Valley for a couple of days, doing some shows.
The eye of the hurricane.
We are in the eye of the storm, that's right, and boy, do we have a great guest today. Kevin.fliess, of course, employee number one, general manager, I guess co-founder for all intents and purposes, of Room 77, which...
to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And you guys, of course, won the best startup at the launch conference last year, the first one I did. Mm-hmm. Got a tremendous reception, and since then, it's been a rocket ship, hasn't it?
It has. We've just, it's been incredible. We launched our beta product in February at the launch conference,
right.
And it was an awesome event, and exactly the right platform for where we were.
Yeah.
From there, we raised our Series B, $10.5 million, from General Catalyst, Sutter Hill, and a band of angels.
Yeah.
And about 10 days ago, we launched our core product.
Right.
So the world's first hotel booking engine that also allows you to get hooked up with the best possible room in the hotel.
And so the product you launched at the conference, of course, was see the room before you commit to the room. And this was a pretty dreamy concept when you launched it.
It was dreamy, but I mean, we kind of looked around the landscape and we said, this is nuts, right? You can see deck plans on cruise ships. You can see seat maps on aircraft.
Yeah.
But I have no idea what I'm getting when I show up at the front desk.
Yeah.
And so we said, there's definitely pent-up consumer demand for this. It's kind of like the dirty little secret nobody wants to talk about.
Is which room you're getting.
Which room you're going to get. And we all know it's sort of this game of roulette you play when you show up at the front desk, right?
Yeah.
There's an insider advantage if I've stayed there before, if I know somebody.
Sure.
But for the vast majority of people, and most of the time, it's a total crapshoot in terms of what you're going to get.
Right, and you wonder, I'm paying X amount and I'm going to get no view, and you know somebody else because they schmoozed better than you, or they knew somebody, or maybe they booked a little earlier, getting the better.
$50.
Yeah, I don't know if that still happens, does it?
Oh, the Vegas 50? Oh,
You're
all
kidding.
the time. Yeah, there's whole websites dedicated to this and who can be bought off at which front desk and whatnot. Now, that's not something we would advocate.
Right, but you're saying it exists.
I'm saying it happens.
The Vegas 50. Give the 50 and you get upgraded to a suite, you think.
Right. It's you pass your credit card with $50 underneath so they don't actually see it.
Ah.
Yeah, because there are cameras watching. So I'm not saying do it.
Ah.
I'm saying it happens.
But you could get a massive upgrade.
Potentially.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, hey, walk us through the product for a second here because I haven't seen the latest one.
Yep.
And Tyler's got it up here. And pull it all the way over here so I can see it.
Yeah, sure.
So still a beautiful design, obviously.
Thanks. We just try to keep it very clean, very simple. So, as the punchline says, it's about finding the right hotel and the right room. Mm-hmm. And we said, look, if we're going to build a hotel search engine, ante into the game is it has to be fast, and it has to have great prices.
Right.
And then what? Okay.
Right.
And the end what is?
And one more thing.
Yes.
Yes. And one more thing, as Steve Jobs would say.
And one more thing.
Yeah.
And that one more thing is the inside scoop on the hotel and getting hooked up with the best possible room. So in V1, which we launched at the launch conference in February, you had to type in your hotel name. The presumption was I knew where I was going.
Right.
I'm going to the Grand Hyatt in Seattle. Now I just want to kind of look at the floor plans and the views.
Yeah.
Now I don't.
It's a Wikipedia of rooms, right?
It was a Wikipedia of rooms, that's right.
Google Maps of hotel rooms,
Yeah, so now let's say I don't have a hotel in mind, I just know that I want to go to Waikiki. I've got a destination and I've got some dates, okay? We'll search for Waikiki. Sure, we'll just
use the default search.
Use the default search.
Incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but the speed behind it, attributable to the team of engineers we have is remarkable. The guy who runs engineering, Calvin Yang, built image search at Google, and we have a couple of core search engineers who've left Google to work on this product. So it is super fast.
And you got the standard kayak side. What was it? Sideways? What was it called? Sidekick was the other one. Sidestep was the original that sort of used this 3-pane interface.
This 3-pane interface where you also want to see immediately, like, we value transparency. It's
Right.
kind of the root of what we've done from the beginning.
Oh, this is a great feature.
So I want to know instantaneously, what am I going to pay? So you can see here at this property, the Waikiki Marina, $109 a night. We're essentially at price parity. For some reason, Priceline's $10 more. But we show you, like Progressive
Yeah.
Insurance, right?
You show Expedia, you show Hotel, you show Orbitz.
Right.
You're agnostic to who the person books from?
Yeah, we want to put the consumer in control of where they want to book. So if I'm more comfortable booking on hotels.com, because
Right.
I'm a member of their loyalty program, stay 10 nights, get another one for free, I can go there and I transact on hotels.com. But if I stay on room 77, I can take advantage of this free room concierge service, where we're going to analyze the rooms in the hotel when you tell us your preferences, and we're going to make sure that you get a good room before you show up.
Got it.
Okay? So it's a very...
So that's what you're selling is, hey, we may not be the lowest price, we hope we are, but if we're not, at least we can help you get the right room.
Yeah.
And if you send people to hotels.com, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to probably get some sort of affiliate commission.
Yeah, so we have relationships in place, just like Sidestep or Kayak with
Right.
each of those providers. But what we're saying is that, when I'm looking for a hotel, what do I care about? I care about...
This is amazing. This just the free Wi-Fi, the ease of like.
Where does that data come
I
from?
only want to see hotels with free Wi-Fi. That's awesome.
Is that something that hotels now is in a database here? Are you building that or?
So we're indexing both structured and unstructured data to pull that information from multiple feeds. So we're kind of supersetting all
Yeah.
the data that exists in travel to figure that out. So if I want hotels with free Wi-Fi
Yep.
And free parking.
and free parking and 4 stars, well, it's the holiday week. There isn't that much inventory, but you can see precisely what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, there doesn't need to be that much inventory. This needs to be one good one.
Exactly. But if we were to change these dates to the week
Free
after
breakfast
January,
as well.
free breakfast as well.
See, this is Tyler. Tyler,
Yeah, this is me right
This
here.
is I can
Free
tell you in a
Wi-Fi, free
nutshell.
breakfast.
For Tyler, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
He'll pay $200 more a night if he gets those things for free. That costs $50.
Right.
That's Tyler's thinking.
We'll just push our dates out to
Yeah,
a
yeah.
week after New Year's when things are going to open up a lot more.
Yeah,
and a lot of people are traveling and
Sure.
things are sold out. But and then you look down the list here. So we've also obviously extracted all this metadata about views. So if I'm going to a place like Waikiki for 7 days, obviously I want an ocean view.
Yep.
Am I going to believe the marketing material or do I actually want to see it?
Yeah,
Right. So
you wanna
we'll-
see it.
We'll actually show it to you.
Right.
And then, sort of this last really interesting attribute we've added is we've indexed all the award sets that are out there, like Travel and Leisure's World's Best Hotels, TripAdvisor Top 500, Photos Recommended. So if I want to distill down based upon those kinds of rankings, and of course I've got user-generated reviews as well, which we're pulling
Yeah, I
from
see you got TripAdvisor, yeah. Which I don't trust anymore.
Right. So this is the
Anytime a service has been around as long as TripAdvisor has,
Yeah.
I assume it's been game to all hell. That's my feeling.
I find that very useful when I'm looking at that result.
Do you think no, but I'm saying, do you think TripAdvisor is,
But they also put
Tyler?
in their own rating system, right?
no,
next
I
to it.
know that, but I'm saying, do you trust
On a
TripAdvisor
separate
anymore?
issue? On a
Separate issue,
separate issue?
sidebar.
No, I don't
Sidebar.
exactly trust.
You don't trust it because they've been around so long, you feel it's gamed?
It has become very polluted, yes.
It's polluted.
Yes.
They should delete every piece of data they have and start over. I would start using it again. It just feels it's
that
polluted.
would kind of screw up their SEO index, I think.
Yeah.
I think it would. Yeah, but that's the problem with having a community like this is it's like all the gamers are so entrenched now.
Still find it useful as a data point in this context.
Maybe, yeah.
They've done a lot of stuff in the last couple of years to do a lot more policing of reviews because
Right.
they did have some general managers and hotel directors of marketing who were
Yeah.
writing reviews,
Yeah.
and they've got some policing mechanisms in place.
Yeah.
We made a conscious decision. We said we don't want to play in the hotel review space, but we do know that consumers do care about it.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis of This Week in Startups. I'm here with Scott Walker, who is the CEO and founder of the Walker Corporate Law Group. Welcome back to the program.
Hey, great to be here, Jason.
Let's take another one of these critical issues when you're starting a company, intellectual property,
Right.
IP law. This includes everything from trademarks to patents to copyright, lots of different words. But typically it goes down something like this, and I get approached by these as an angel investor. I have an idea that I've been working on the weekends
Right.
while I'm working at IBM, Google,
Exactly.
Microsoft, and I want you to invest in it.
Right.
And now I'm like, whoa. Wait a second. Were you doing this on company time? Were you using the company laptop? Who owns this
Right.
IP?
Right.
Is the IP clean? What do founders need to know in this type of situation? How do they get themselves angel ready, fundable, when the IP was maybe created on the weekends?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. There are certain mistakes that are deadly, and IP is certainly one of them. We talked about vesting previously. IP ownership, and the sad thing is, Jason, as you know, it comes up when the investors come in and do their diligence, and it's like, what the is going on here? You were working over at IBM, like you said, and doing this. So the answer is you got to sit down with a good lawyer, and it's sort of like a checklist of IP ownership issues that we need to walk through and address.
Right.
And it may very well be okay. If you're not, for example, in California, if you're not using their facilities, if you're truly moonlighting and you're doing it on the weekend and it's not in their space, then you may be okay. But I mean, there are some tricky issues in there. We got to make sure that
and it's like little tests that add up.
That's right.
To the other party having a case or not.
Right.
And this is what I think confuses a lot of young entrepreneurs, is that it's not black and white.
Right.
There's interpretation to the law.
Right. Exactly. And sometimes you have a good relationship with your employee, you might be able to get a waiver, Right. It's like, hey, here's what I'm doing.
What is a waiver?
A waiver is basically the employer saying to you, Jason, the entrepreneur, it's murky. We may have ownership rights to your IP, but we're going to waive those rights. We're going to let you go ahead and do your venture. We love you. Maybe we'll take a little equity. Maybe give us one, whatever it is. But we're not going to cause any problems. You can bring that waiver to your investor and say everything's cool.
And I've had this happen multiple times here at Mahalo. I've had people say, I'm working on this project on the weekend.
Right.
Would you sign a waiver for me?
Yeah.
And then I say, do I like this employee or not? This is why it's important to be good to your boss. That's right. I usually think, and people sometimes ask, can I work on this? And they do it ahead of time. They even do a waiver ahead of time so they don't get in any trouble.
Right.
I'm thinking of working on this project.
Right.
Will you sign a waiver?
Right.
Or I've been working on a project, will you sign a waiver? And most bosses will be reasonable. If they're not, you really shouldn't work for that kind of boss anyway. And you need to get out of there. These are great issues, and of course your firm is a boutique firm, which means you don't charge huge fees. You got that $2,500 all you can eat, all the questions and emails, startup package. That's working out pretty well for people.
It's $2,900. Yeah, it's so in all filing fees includes, you pay about $900 filing fees. You form a corporation in Delaware. You qualify where you're located, usually California, and there's a whole bunch of documents that we take care of.
You do that for $2,900 with everything. You lose money on that.
Well,
I guess
it's a way of. Who gave me the idea? Nivy at Angel List.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He said lose money on the formation, but make it back.
Right. Build a relationship.
Freemium. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't make it free, because then you get a lot of kind of oddballs, screwballs.
Yeah, they got to have a little bit of skin in the game.
Right. So they actually are committed, right? It's kind of a little test. And it's really a great way of building relationship. It's obviously there are a lot of questions first-time entrepreneurs have. They're afraid to pick up the phone and call the lawyer because the guy's always billing. This way it's like, call us. We want to help you. Let's button down these issues.
And you're investing in them for the long term, because if they become, they get to be around their C round, it can become a meaningful client for you guys.
Yeah, and that's what we want. What we're trying to do is help entrepreneurs. There are a lot of, unfortunately, bad guys out there. At your level and the level of the Brad Felds and the Mark Susans, you guys are amazing, right? Trust, it's not an issue. You probably don't even need a lawyer. But when you get down in the second and third tier, unfortunately, there's some bad guys out there.
Yeah, well, you have these, all kinds of weird operators who want to take
advantage
5% of your,
whatever it is.
They want you to hire them to raise money for you, and that's like 5% warrants or 10%. They just totally destroy these like weird characters. And you do need to have a lawyer to protect you before you sign anything.
Exactly.
Anything you're going to sign, you got to show to your lawyer first. Hey, Scott's a great walker. If you're a startup company, I highly recommend you hire him. And you can reach him at swalker@walkercorporatelaw.com.
Yeah.
swalker@walkercorporatelaw.com. You should just get Scott. All right? I'm wearing the tie over here, and you're nice and casual. Just get Scott at Walker Corporate Law.
I got to switch that.
Well, let's get on with the show. You don't have to reinvent the wheel there. And you know that that's not really all that accurate. So show us what it looks like when you actually see the pictures of the rooms and stuff like that. And how is that process going? I know you were using some APIs to create through, Google Earth, the views.
Yeah. So we'll take a look at the Trump International here. So this is Trump International Hotel Waikiki. You click on, so you've got standard data, but you also have this floor map.
Right.
So you can see when you click on the floor map, we're showing you the individual rooms.
Right, for the Trump International Hotel Waikiki Beach Walk.
Right. And we've got dozens and dozens of hotels just in Waikiki. You can go to New York, London, Las Vegas, San Francisco. We've built this index of 750,000 individual hotel rooms, and you can literally go room by room. So how this works now is, you could say, for the really discriminating traveler who wants to go in here and see the views in the room, you could say, you know what, 3703 would be the ideal room for me, and you can note that at checkout. Right. Or you could say, you know what, I'm more the 80% case, and I think the more 80% case is, I have a set of preferences. I'm just going to tell you what my preferences are at checkout. I want to be on high floors with a great view in a quiet area of the hotel. And you tell us that at checkout, and we parse that preference set, put it against our room database, and then we automatically run a script that says, for Jason, it should be 3707, 3807, 3907. Those are the ideal rooms or similar, so we know what to ask for, and that information automatically gets passed.
Now, is that
hotel.
guaranteed or is it requested at this point?
It's requested, but we've had a really surprisingly high hit rate on that information. What we find is what matters is the data. If you have the data, you can tip the odds in your favor. Right? If I just call and say, I want a great view.
Right.
It's up
helps.
to interpretation.
Yeah, that helps, but it's very much up to interpretation. If you say, I want to be on the west side, 30th floor or higher, facing the beach with a balcony, then they know they have something they can glom onto, and when they're doing room assignment, they always put those room assignments higher up in the queue.
Is there going to become a time when I book a specific room and I know I'm going to get that specific room?
I'd like to think so. I'd love to think so. I mean, to kind of use the seat guru analogy, right? We're still in a world of kind of seat guru where you can see the ratings and you can see the seats in the rooms, which is already a huge advantage. Now I'm not going into it blind any longer.
Right.
But will there be a day when the airline seat map becomes clickable for hotels?
Yeah.
Maybe. And I think it will happen, but we're talking a couple of years away.
Yeah.
What we're finding though is with this level of information, we've been able to get 9 out of 10 of our customers, 90% of our customers, a room that meets or exceeds their preferences just by having this information.
Right.
And the feedback has been super positive.
So how do you make, let's go back to the...
Just views as well. It's like, I want the quietest room in the hotel.
With the strongest Wi-Fi signal.
Ah, that's me right there, yeah.
Well, also, I have to say, when you're booking a Vegas hotel right now, how close you are to the elevator is becoming a major issue. Because like when I play in the World Series of Poker and you stay at certain hotels, it could be literally an extra 7, 8, 9 minutes walking each way. And that could be 8 minutes you could be playing cards.
Right.
I mean, for degenerate gamblers, stuff matters.
No, totally.
But show me the actual views, because this was computer generated through Google Earth, and you guys know the height of the room. So and you have the floor plan that you've, I'm assuming, sent to some CAD designer in Mumbai to do for you at an affordable price or something?
Mumbai, Mountain View.
Mountain View.
Mountain View, baby.
You have people in Mountain View? That's expensive.
I know.
Doing the layouts and the floor plans, really?
We do the initial triage, and we do the QA in Mountain View. We do a lot of the production offshore.
Right.
But we had to build this content management system and this platform from scratch. So yes, we take the blueprint, which is usually a PDF document that we get from the front desk, or it could be something torn out of a 3-ring binder. Or it could be the back of your room door, the exit floor map. We use that as a template. We digitally draw this blueprint, okay? And then we take that drawing and we fit it into space. So we take literally a Google map as the footprint. And we lay that on top of that footprint.
Great.
And with that, we know the latitude, the longitude, as well as the altitude. So we know that if you're on the 34th floor, you're about 340 feet in the air. If you're on the 37th floor, you're 370 feet in the air. And as you move around the hotel now, we're able to automatically generate these views by plugging those coordinates.
And I can see that this room has just got 15% more beach view, 20%, 25% more ocean view. And actually, if they're all going for the same price, hey, why not get the 37% ocean view versus 13% ocean view?
I mean, in some cases, the partial ocean view may have a building in front. Whereas the next partial ocean view might be actually looking down the beach. You can actually see the difference. But to Tyler's point, it's not just about the view. It's about what's the square footage of the room. Is it on the corner or is it next to an elevator? Does it have a vending machine on one side? If you're traveling with your kids, I want to know which hotels have connecting rooms, right? That's a huge deal. Like, I don't want to book 2 rooms and then be on separate floors.
So I remember you guys talking a little bit about what's going to be the reaction of hotels, and not exactly knowing exactly what the reaction is going to be. It's been a year now. The product's been out for almost a year. You've done tons of hotels, tons of rooms. What do they like about it, and what do the naysayers not like about it?
So the overwhelmingly positive. Honestly, overwhelmingly positive. We would not have been able to get to where we are without active participation from hotels. So we've got brands like Kimpton, Starwood, and others, hotels like the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas, who are actively working with us to make sure the data is correct.
So they're going through floor by floor, looking at the floor plan, saying, hey, this is correct, this isn't?
They're submitting the content, then they're reviewing it and verifying it before it goes
live.
Wow.
Okay, well that's great.
In many cases, they're even augmenting the data by sending us things like interior photos of each individual room. So now I don't just see the view, I can actually see what that room looks like. So marketing folks love it because it's a new platform by which they can merchandise their hotel. It's like, we've been telling you we have great views. Well, now you can actually see it, right?
Right. Because they would want to, ideally, to replace that view generated by Google Earth
With a photo.
With a photo. Has that made its way into the product yet, or is that still to come?
So we're accumulating content, and we can support that,
Yeah.
and we'll be rolling that out. So we'll be able to toggle between sort of the synthetic view and the actual view.
Right. So which will be the default?
The synthetic view, because we can do that at scale, right? So we can do that.
But wait,
for
so
all-
if I'm Cosmopolitan and I submit
Then we
photos,
would swap over to your photos.
so that would become the default.
Absolutely.
So if you have the default. Now, does that mean they're going to take one photo at night, one photo during the day, and
That's a good idea. I mean, I think. Okay, let me not jot that down. It's a good feature enhancement.
Oh, okay,
Jason
sorry.
gets full credit for that. No, I think.
No, I'm just
that
curious because,
makes a
like
lot of
in
sense.
Vegas, the night view is a big part of it. Like, how good does it look at night? And then in other places, it might be the day, it might be the view that matters.
Yeah, and we've
Waikiki,
had-
you're not seeing anything at night. It's pitch black.
Yeah, and we've had users. We have an iPhone app, we have an Android app, so users can submit room photos and view photos today. We have a number of night view photos that come in from users. So it's a living organic database, right? That basically we've built the platform. Think of each room as an object, and now it's like, okay, what do we want to fill up the object with? So we want information like what floor is it on, what's the bed type, what's the square footage, what's the view, what's the category, are there reviews for that at the room level, are there photos at the room level? So both consumers and Room 77 and hotels are filling up that vessel with that data.
And there must be some naysayers in the group. I'm sure there are people who have hotels that maybe have rooms that previously would not have been exposed as lemons,
Right.
to use a term from the car business. What do the people with rooms that are lemons have to say about it?
Yeah, you know what?
You have anybody say, take this down, or this is inaccurate?
I would say more the latter. I think people have been saying, hey, we want to make sure this is right.
Right.
And so we give them a channel so they can reach out to us, and we'll make sure that those things are up to date because they know the information is out there.
Right.
It's
But no, the information isn't out there. If I have rooms that
Right.
are lemons, that information isn't necessarily out there. And you might be exposing it for the first time that, hey, this view sucks.
Right. So, I mean, our attitude is ultimately, it's been proven, I think, time and time again, what's good for consumers ultimately ends up being good for businesses.
Well, that's your stump speech about your position on it. But I'm saying, what's there? What has been the reality? Are they calling saying you have to take this down, or how dare you put this up there? Have you gotten a cease and desist? Like
No, nothing.
no cease and desist, no angry calls.
No cease and desist. I'll give you one thing that was interesting.
Yeah, give me
which was-
something here instead of the stump speech. Give me the juicy story.
Here's the juicy story. So one time in, I think it was a DC hotel that was in the vicinity of the White House. I'll leave it at that.
Right.
Said, hey, you guys have all the sight lines from your hotel to the White House front lawn, right? And that was a little concerning because this same hotel has snipers on the roof.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And they were a little concerned that someone could get that information and use that information in a nefarious way. So of course we responded to that.
That is so absurdly ridiculous
Yeah.
to think that a terrorist
Right.
who has nothing to do all day but think about ways to terrorize, thus the title, would need Room 77 to know that this hotel has a sight line to the White House.
Exactly.
Second, the White House does not have bulletproof glass or some kind of protections that they would allow a hotel to exist that compromised the president. If it was that compromising of the president or compromising in any way, that hotel would not be allowed to exist.
Yeah, I know. And the same hotel has snipers on its roof, right?
Right.
So it was like
absurd and absurd.
I'm not going to speculate on how they might go about it, but that was the one where we're like, all right, definitely in the interest of national security, we'll take those things down. But the vast majority of cases, it's been about, okay, how can we make this better?
Yeah. So your space, very hard to differentiate. Has the view from the room and the detail level of the room, has that lived up to your expectation as being a deciding factor, or are other things, have you learned in the almost a year since you've been out, been the deciding factors?
I think it's been a great differentiator for us, and having this information, there's no doubt there's tremendous value around it. But what we've gone back to is say, when you shop for hotels, what do you really care about?
Price, availability,
location,
speed of search,
amenities like free Wi-Fi, free breakfast, and those kinds of things. And oh, by the way, right, all things being equal, I don't want to end up in the lemon, right? I want to be in a good place.
There is a certain, I want to avoid a disaster.
Right.
Because with airplanes, like, you're only going to be on it for a couple of hours. If it's a disaster, you suck it up for 4 or 5 hours and then you're at your destination. You show up at destination in another country already having paid in advance for some room for 5 nights, they got your room, it's too late to cancel.
Yep.
That's a big loss.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
very frustrating. Yeah.
It is. I mean, listen, if I'm traveling by myself for one night to Seattle, I'll sleep anywhere.
Right.
Because, it's going to be a late night. There's probably going to be drinks involved.
Yes, but
I don't have to worry about putting
if
my
you got
kid
your
to bed.
kids or wife, it's a whole different, and it's Waikiki for a week.
Yeah.
It's a whole different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, at the same time, I care about a screaming deal, right? When I'm traveling on business, right? I want to make sure I'm not being, screwed. So I'd like to see all the prices.
So the view and that was the sort of starting out point for the company. It was the marketing. It was the PR hook, if you will.
It was the iconic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It turns out that's maybe number 4 or 5 on the list, and you're really working on those other couple of things as well.
Yeah, we're saying, look, Kayak started as an air-only hotel search engine.
Right.
Hipmunk started as an air search engine, has moved into hotels.
Yeah.
We're focused strictly on hotels, right? We think, yes, it's an incredibly competitive space,
right,
but there's an opportunity to create a fundamentally hotel search experience, right? That starts with fast, clean search, better prices.
Gorgeous product.
Yeah.
I would tell anyone to go on this. That is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous product.
Yeah, it's well done, Tyler. Hopefully, did you get did you give him a gift certificate or something?
He gave me a t-shirt.
He gave you a t-shirt? That's all it takes, huh? Tyler gets a t-shirt and he loves it.
I'm not saying that because of the t-shirt.
No, of course not.
I defy you to find a better search experience in any vertical.
Talk to me educate me a little bit about hotel rooms that work really well.
So I can scroll back up.
Hotel rooms are, and this is why Hipmunk has become, I guess, was so obsessed with it, we had them on the program. Hotels have a big commission on them. Mm-hmm. You make a lot of money booking hotels.
All the money in travel is in hotels, full stop.
Full stop. How much do you make if you book a plane ticket? Is it like $4 or $5?
$5 if you're doing really well. Most of the time, nothing.
$5 on a $300 or $400 average ticket.
Yeah.
It's not.
$10
it's like 1%, 2%.
Yeah, but that you're talking about an industry that's like heading into the toilet.
Well, I mean, not for.
Like the margins are really small to begin with.
I know, but that just seems unreasonable to give somebody just 1% for selling it for you.
Right.
But now on the hotel rooms, it's fragmented. Generally speaking,
yes.
And the owners in a lot of cases are local operators, even if it's under a big name, right? The Hotel
Right.
That's right.
8 or whatever is some local franchisee,
Right.
so they can cut their own deals.
They can cut their own deals, and they're happy to take distribution.
Right.
Yeah.
So 10, 20% is what is the range? Not for you, but for the industry.
Depending on your leverage, 10 to 25, 30%.
Wow.
Depending on who you are, how much volume you drive, and the particular hotel.
So I book a $1,500 stay somewhere. Mm-hmm. The person who booked it could get $150, $300. Wow.
Depending on the relationship that they have.
So there is a lot of room here in terms of making money to then go spend. And that's why we see JetBlue and other places that sell direct to consumers. Yeah. The first thing they do after they get you a ticket
is upsell you a hotel.
They want to get you in that hotel.
Sure.
How come an airline and a hotel haven't how come a successful airline hasn't gotten wedded or opened a hotel or haven't merged with one? Like, why doesn't Virgin Atlantic America have a hotel?
Like Virgin Hotels?
Yeah, what do they have? Of just one in London. So you buy, imagine if you bought a upper class ticket and you got one night.
Chauffeur driven to the hotel?
Yeah,
they
one
already
night.
chauffeur drove us in London when we arrived.
I mean, we try not to talk about Calacanis' conspicuous consumption on the program.
Is this a startup show?
Listen, I made my money. I got to start. Why would I fly on Virgin upper class once in a while? It's my right.
How was it? Was it good?
Virgin upper class. Should be told, Tyler was the coach.
Okay.
But we didn't pay for it.
You guys said goodbye at the door?
We basically have our little ritual. We spend so much time together that we don't want to be sitting next to each other on the whole flight. That's he likes to sleep. I like to watch movies. It's like a couple.
I like the window seat in coach because I put my head on the wall. And
he got his own thing. Yeah.
I can't sleep any other way.
For the window seat.
I got to tell you though, the Virgin
because the wall's too far from
Virgin Atlantic upper class. You've taken it.
No, I've never been on it.
Oh, the Virgin Atlantic upper class experience, whatever that means, is they pick you up in a car. Right. I've done it twice, both times on speaking gigs. They pick you up, drive you to the airport. When you get wherever you go, and they take you to your destination. So that's just like, wow, that's crazy. But they take you into a totally separate entrance that looks like a Four Seasons hotel. Yeah. And you go through your own security line. Mm-hmm. Then you get there, and they're like, oh, would you like a haircut, a massage for free? And we have a full service restaurant over here. And you go to the restaurant, and it's literally a full restaurant. You can order whatever you want.
Wow.
But they literally cut my hair. I got a haircut, or you can get a massage. Yeah. There's a sauna, steam room, there's a game room. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, and that's, whatever it's really well done. I mean, there's a reason why he's successful.
Totally. It's a great brand experience.
But my original question was, why is it not paired? Like, if you can't make the money off you were just at airlines or incompetent, I guess, in general.
I mean, look at AA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Struggling.
American Airlines has, what is their market cap at this point? Under $100 million.
Yeah. I think...
and they have $20 billion in assets.
I think since you asked the question, Facebook's valuation's gone up more than...
Yeah.
So at the beginning of this program, Facebook's valuation has increased more than the cost of American Airlines.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Terrible company. I mean, just horribly run. But
Virgin, on the other hand, is not.
Yeah. So let's talk about this Hotel Tonight phenomenon, because somebody told me about this the other day. I almost wound up using it.
Yeah.
What an amazing disruptive experience. You take out your phone and you get you can get a room that night.
Yeah.
And people, we were in Europe, and one of the super fans of the show from Germany, what was his name?
Riddick?
No, he was traveling with...
on the plane, Alex. On
Alex.
the train with us, yeah.
Alex was on the train with us, and I said, Alex, where are you staying? And he said, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I said, well, when are you going to know? And he goes, well, at like 8 or 9 o'clock tonight, I'll take out hotel tonight,
Yep.
and I'll press a button and go there. Then you have Airbnb providing rooms at 1/3.
Totally.
Two massively disruptive things, two massively disruptive behavior-changing phenomenon. How does that affect your business? Because that basically takes people just out of your system.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Hotel Tonight, look, I think they've captured lightning in a bottle. It's a beautiful product. And I know Sam really, really well. And you guys are a great product guy.
Yeah.
And I think he identified a really important niche, and a trend, which is more and more hotel commerce is moving to mobile. That's a fact. Right. Secondly, people care about price. Right. And so by coming up with a last-minute hotel-only mobile product, he's carved out a really important niche. Now, there's a lot of fast followers, right? So what does this mean for the industry? It means that all the major online travel agencies, Priceline, Expedia, and others are going to try to replicate this.
Sure.
For sure, because they see an opportunity here.
Well, why do they need to? I mean, they've got a bigger footprint. They've already got they don't have to get themselves, a Wall Street Journal story. They're already known.
Yeah. So that's not a space that we're specifically looking to play in, but we do recognize that when we have a mobile booking app, which we will have in 2012, that probably half of those bookings will be for stays that happen within 24 to 72 hours.
Is the whole industry reacting and saying, let's create like a data system of day of rooms? Like, is there going to be some API standard, like put into your content management system or your inventory system, like tonight we have this, and the front desk has got to decide every night, like a gambler, like what we're going to offer, like it's some negotiation every night?
I think those conversations are definitely happening. I mean, I think what Hotel Tonight has done is definitely spurred those kinds of conversations to happen.
Yeah.
Now you could imagine when you get to a world where you have that kind of an API where it's not just, look, here are the hotels, but here are the actual rooms, because rooms get assigned day of, right? When you show up at a hotel for 3 o'clock.
This seems like it's really in your zone. Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Room assignment happens at 9 o'clock in the morning for people arriving at 3 o'clock, right? So wouldn't it be nice if on the way to the hotel, you got a push notification that says, you're going to be on the 22nd floor, pick a room.
Wow.
Right?
That's very powerful.
So, I mean, now we're getting into like what could be, right, down the road.
Yep.
But I think, Hotel Tonight, Room 77 are kind of at the tip of that spear for letting those kinds of things actually happen.
Right.
And as a consumer, right, I love the idea of knowing that I could get a better room, but having that guarantee obviously changes things considerably, right?
Yeah. Well, if you're traveling with your child, you're not using Hotel Tonight. But if you're traveling, I could see people for business who are on a budget.
Yeah.
Boom. I remember when I was struggling in business, was it hotels.com or what was the one that they wouldn't tell you the name of it?
Priceline?
No.
Or Hotwire?
Hotwire.
Yeah, the opaque pricing model.
Opaque pricing. And I figured out in San Francisco that the Cliff Hotel, like Ian Schrager, beautiful hotel.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of tricks.
Well, it was always listed as 4 stars, and I knew that it didn't have a gym, and it didn't have like a couple of things, so it wouldn't have that, and it would say boutique.
Right.
And it's a Union Square boutique that doesn't have a gym or whatever one of the, I think it didn't have a gym, whatever the feature was, I'd say, oh, that's got to be it.
Right, so by power of deduction,
I would get $90, because you named your price, I think, in Hotwire. Back then.
Yeah.
Or something. Anyway.
Priceline was Name Your Price.
Oh.
Hotwire had like deep
discounts, yeah. So I was getting it at $90, $95.
Yeah.
And one time I stayed there for 2 nights, had to stay a third night. I go downstairs, I say, can I extend for a night? They said $275.
Oh, they tried to charge
I said, oh, I got $90. he goes, how did you get that? I said, well, I booked it through this. He goes, yeah, those aren't available. I said, I'll be right back. I go back, boom, I book it, I come back down. I said,
here I am.
And he goes, I knew you were going to do that. He goes, how do you know that? I said, well, you're always listed in Hotline as this in this profile. He goes, oh, okay, very good. I should note that. Don't tell anybody. It was pretty funny. So what now for the company?
So just to segue off of that, I think the reality is, look, when you book online, the truth is you're kind of the bottom of the barrel. I'm not going to throw the big online travel agencies under the bus.
Right.
But the reality is those who book direct with the hotel tend to get priority treatment. And if you're an elite member, you get priority treatment.
Yeah, I'm a Starwood member. That's all I stay at.
You have your SPG Gold or Platinum.
That's what I am.
They know you're coming,
yeah.
and they're going to take good care of you. But if you're not a member of a loyalty program and you book through one of these online agencies, there's a pecking order, right? It's, the Starwood Golds, those who book with the hotel next, direct. Then those who booked with an offline agency, then the OTAs, and then at the very bottom are the opaque pricing guys, right? So it's not a surprise when you book through an opaque site why you show up at New York at 10 o'clock at night, you always end up in the smallest room, right? And, sorry, only the smoking floor is available or whatever.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is with this information, let's just try to make sure that you always have a good stay experience. Starting with the search, it should be fast, it should be comprehensive. You'll get an email from us 48 hours prior to arrival knowing what room you're going to be in. I mean, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
And if for some reason we can't confirm the room, we're going to give you all the negotiation tips you need so when you show up, you get squared away. So next for us is how do we build a big hotel search only brand? How do we move this search and booking functionality to our iPhone and Android app? And
when are you going to add Airbnb? I mean, it's a viable option. There's absolutely no justification for not including them in if you're building a true search engine of rooms. You have to be adding them. When is that going to be added?
You know what? It's our idea is to have as much inventory as possible.
Right.
And I can't give you a specific date.
But it is on the radar. It's on the roadmap.
It's on the radar.
It's on the radar? Is it on the roadmap is what I want to know. And is Airbnb provide that functionality yet?
I don't know if they have an API, to be totally honest with you. That's why I say it's on the radar.
So these discussions have occurred?
These discussions
in your company, you guys are saying, do we keep Airbnb
interest to apply to allow?
Maybe, but you know what? They could be quixotic. Like I could see them being quixotic, like a Craigslist, and saying, he was like, I don't want my stuff indexed. I was about to say the S word, and I would have been putting money in the swear jar.
Let me tell you why it's in the radar and not on the roadmap right now.
Right.
It's because I think a hotel shopper and an Airbnb shopper can be slightly different demographics, right?
There's only a 20% overlap right now.
Yeah, right. And so if we can figure out a way to bring those 20% together, it could be really, really cool. I think there's a whole bunch of inventory abroad. I think there's a whole bunch of boutique hotels that aren't in there.
Yep.
We should be adding those first, right?
So you want to grab those boutique hotels that aren't maybe indexed really well on Expedia?
Yeah, Expedia and other online travel sites, the boutiques, the small and independent.
Those are like 30 or under rooms or something like that?
Yeah, the stuff, the inventory you just can't find. So, how do you roll those in? They tend to be in more niche kinds of sites, but as a meta search engine that pulls in that information, I think adding more hotel inventory makes a lot more sense. Fast forward a couple of years, I'd love to find ourselves in a place where you have the virtual sort of hotel seat map that's live and active with overlay pricing, and you could say, I want that. It's worth an extra $50 a night for me to know that I'm going to be in that room. I think that's the way the world heads over the next couple of years.
That's going to be fascinating, is if you could say, you're offering rooms at 110, and I could bid 125 for this corner room.
Right.
That's powerful.
And the lemon is $45 a night, so it doesn't go unsold.
So it's basically, if everybody has equal information, we can just have an honest discussion.
Exactly.
Whereas right now, it's a dishonest, opaque discussion that's going on.
It is. So that's exactly right.
Yeah. So it's on the radar to put something like Airbnb in, but not necessarily on the roadmap. Don't you think, or do you think, that there will be a permanent reset into the expectation of these young travelers as they become adults? Do you think that for now, it's okay for them to stay on a couch or in a guest house, and then when they get older, they're going to get tired of the $75 and want the $200 experience? Or do you think that they're going to be like, you know what, I prefer that experience and I'm going to stick with it even though I'm 30 years old? I'm going to still go for the $100, $75 experience. What do you think is going to happen? 5-10 years out, Airbnb, a young broke ass, experience, or does it become an adult experience?
I think it definitely becomes an adult experience. I think there are different kinds of trips, not necessarily different kinds of travelers. I'll give you an example, right? If I'm going to take my family to Europe, totally honest with you, I'm going to look at hotels, but I'm also going to look at flats, right? Places I can
Yeah,
rent.
you want to
know,
have a kitchen.
Yeah, I want to be in the city center. I want to be able to walk. My kids want their own bedroom, and then I'm going to cost those things out.
The VRBO stuff.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, well, what
home
I'd
away.
like to see is give me the capacity to compare,
right?
A flat.
So what about that? What about home away and VRBO, that whole company that, who's doing that? Austin Ventures, I guess, rolled that all up?
Yeah, TCV.
TCV, yeah. So,
and HomeAway is now public, I believe.
it's public, yeah. So they bought VRBO, they've got home away, they got all that
all
stuff.
the vacation rental sites.
So do you...
Airbnb is somewhere in the middle, right? It's more like,
Yeah.
do you want this, like, do you want 25% of my home square footage
Right.
for the next 3 days?
Yeah, or do you want my small apartment and I'll move out for
Right.
that 2 days,
Right.
as opposed to I have a vacation rental in Vail or
That's an income property.
That's an income property, and I'm trying to rent it out. So, will you pull that stuff into the search? I mean,
I think
is that
it's-
roadmap or radar?
I would say that it's in the same camp as Airbnb.
Okay, so it's on radar, but
yeah.
maybe not on the solid roadmap.
Adjacent opportunities, interesting lodging inventory.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a whole bunch of hotel inventory that needs to be in there. And I think more importantly, I think there's just a whole bunch of stuff we can do to, make the experience even more compelling and faster and simpler for users. But I think I'd love that capacity to compare.
Well, how great would that be, though? It's like, yeah, you're going
powerful.
to Hawaii and you're like, okay, show me the 2-3 bedroom family style suites or houses at the Four Seasons,
Versus-
as well as the VRBO stuff, as well as the houses that are on Airbnb.
Yeah, as well as a suite in this hotel or 2 adjoining rooms in this hotel.
Right.
Like, what are the relative trade-offs and
Right.
the relative costs of doing those things?
Now, are you sure the idea of not getting into reviews is a good one? You must have debates about that. How locked down is the debate that you don't want to be in the reviews business? Because it feels like, to be honest, photos and the details of the rooms are what people discuss in the reviews.
Yeah, no, listen, I would say getting in the core hotel review business is not something we want to touch, but letting users leave a tip about a specific room or review a specific room is something that we support and will continue to support.
I got an idea for you.
Good.
This is what I want.
All right.
I want somebody, you could do this as a loss leader. I want somebody to go audit the rooms. I want a hotel auditor. Like somebody I know I can trust who goes.
You want a Zagat for hotels?
Precisely. But Zagat is crowdsourced as well, right? Because Google's a content company.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Yeah, exactly. Google is not a content company. We just own YouTube, Zagat, and the New York Times. I mean, this is what's going to happen. In another 5 years, Larry Page is going to buy the New York Times, and he's going to say it's a platform, not a content company.
Right.
It's just a platform.
Yeah.
And he's going to take all the people who write for it and say, you guys are all independent contractors, you get paid on AdSense on your pages.
And Google's not in travel either.
No, they're not in travel. Of
Right.
course they're not in travel. No. We just own the largest travel database in the world.
Search distribution.
Yeah, we just bought that.
Yeah.
Right, but we're not in travel. We're not a content company.
No.
Of course not.
No interest.
It's the I think what Steve Jobs taught Larry Page was the distortion field. He's like, here's how to do it. Do one thing and then say you're doing the exact opposite. And then every time everybody asks you, just say, no, you're mistaken.
Yeah, it must be another Google you're thinking of.
And these are not the droids you're looking for. This is not a content company. So how come there's nobody on the side of consumers going to these rooms, and perhaps it's cost, I'm trying to just figure it out on an editorial basis, and saying, we're going to go to these, we're going to go to 5 hotels a day, book rooms, they don't know that we're reviewers, and we're going to secretly go in, take pictures, and audit the room, and write a detailed report, and put it on our site.
Yeah, because it's super, super expensive.
God damn it, I really want somebody to do this.
That big non-content company could pull that off.
The big non-content company, right.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't do that because they don't have content people there. They only have curators.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, listen, you're talking about something that has to be done at scale, right?
Does it?
That's a lot of rooms, yeah.
What if they just did it for the top, like you have the Travel Leisure top 500 rooms?
Yeah.
What if they did it just for those?
Yeah.
What if you did it if you said, can I see the room? Because you can do that, right?
You don't
I want
have
a
to,
tour.
You don't have to actually stay there. You can just.
Right.
Oh, that's a great idea. You could tour the room and take a thing. Why don't you guys do that? Hire somebody to do that.
Well, here's my
Room
thought.
reviews.
Are you in the pocket of the rooms then, or the hotels? You'd be afraid to trash a hotel room?
With the
trash a review, not I literally trash the hotel room.
No, listen.
Would you guys be afraid of writing a negative review like that?
No, not at all. I mean,
Right.
look, we worship at the altar of the consumer, 100%. That's why we've said, here's every room in the hotel.
Right.
Consumer,
Including
here's
the
an
lemons,
Android
yeah.
app, here's an iPhone app. Right
Go to
away.
town, yeah.
Go to town. Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
And listen, we'll be happy to take content from hoteliers and augment what we have.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, if you go in and audit 5 rooms at the Bellagio, there's 3,500 rooms, or even if you audit 35 rooms or 50 rooms, it's still not a representative sample of how they all are, right? So our attitude is, look, there are certain patterns that matter. I want to be near the elevator because I want an accessible room. I don't want to be on a low floor. How do we do this at scale is kind of the way we've looked at it. So I don't disagree that there's an
There's a
opportunity to
void
provide
there.
an editorial voice. And we
Who
have-
does that? Who does any editorial voice in hotels that you can really trust in your mind? What's the number one brand that comes to mind for like, I trust this brand for their review of the hotel?
I don't know. I'm thinking Travel and Leisure probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it, and that's for the highest end hotels.
right.
If you're going to any of those, they're 500 and up.
Right.
They don't have none of those hotels they're reviewing
Yeah.
have under a $400 a night room.
Yeah. Listen, I think it's an interesting idea, but it's kind of a different business.
Of course,
There
it is.
is a
I'm just
site-
wondering why it doesn't exist.
Yeah. No, there's a site called oyster.com. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
So they've been around, I want to say, about 4 years. And they have sent editors to hotels around the world to take tons and tons of photos and to do hotel reviews.
Oh, wow.
So they built a content database.
Yeah.
But they did it different than the way we've tackled it. And the way we've tackled it is a lot more with kind of like science and algorithms.
Yeah.
And saying, let's collect the raw data and then let's just turn it on and do it at scale.
Yep.
And then to your point about crowdsourcing, let consumers and hotels, to a large extent, fill in the empty vessel.
Right.
So, I think it's a different business. It's more of a media business, a magazine business.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and we're really kind of maniacally focused on how do we create awesome search. And so the end goal here is to help you find the right hotel in the right room. All the content, all the information behind it is about just kind of supporting that end user goal.
Are you familiar with the Jonathan Ives eulogy for Steve Jobs where he talks about the hotels?
No.
Oh, it's the greatest story ever. Tell it, please.
No, go.
This is the greatest story ever.
I mean, it's an awesome
I know
eulogy.
Jonathan Ives,
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
So his, he would
It's
they would
fantastic.
travel together.
Yeah.
He was Steve Jobs' Tyler, if you will.
Yeah, okay.
And they go to hotels, and then he would check in at the hotel,
Yeah.
leave his bags at the door, intentionally wouldn't unpack or touch.
He'd
his
sit at the edge of the
Sit
bed
at the edge of the bed
with
wait
his
for-
bags.
Wait for the phone to ring,
Wait for the phone to ring.
which it inevitably would, and he'd be like, "Hey Johnny, this hotel's crap. We gotta get out of here."
Steve Jobs
Yeah.
goes out to the-
Really?
and they go to the next hotel.
Oh, wow.
He said that every
Never
time.
unpacked, huh?
Yeah.
He knew not to unpack. He'd go, put his bags down, sit at the edge of the bed, and just wait for the phone call.
Steve Jobs, God bless him. I mean, he would have appreciated this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, listen, we've run into people who say, you guys have saved me, right? Because what I used to do was I'd get 3 room keys at every hotel. I'd say, give me 3 rooms. I don't want 1 room. And I'd go to each room, and then I would take 2 back to the front desk, right? I mean,
Oh, that's a clever idea.
yeah, but that's like,
What
who
room
has
lets
the
you do
patience
that?
to
What
do
hotel
that?
lets you do that? Wow.
Well, hotels look at it this way. It's like if somebody cares that much, and we can make them happy, that's a customer for life. Like,
Yeah.
imagine if they'd won Steve's business, right? The hotel that was lucky enough to win Steve's business.
Yeah.
Good things are going to happen, right?
That's a good point.
That's a great
Hey,
anecdote.
Kevin Fliess, thank you for coming on the program. Everybody
pleasure.
follow Kevin. Kevin is at Kevin Fliess, spelled F-L-I-E-S-S. And if you were like a killer developer or just startup guy and you wanted a job at a really booming company, I would suggest going to work at Room 77. Kevin.fliess, F-L-I-E-S-S, at room77.com is his email. Tell me he did a good job on the program. Thank you to our sponsors. What an amazing job you guys do in allowing us to produce independent content like this that you cannot get anywhere else. People are stopping me in airports at Starbucks saying, we love the show, what amazing guests, what amazing knowledge is shared. I can tell you, the reason I do the show is because I learned so much from it, and I love the fact that you guys are learning. We're all learning together, and it is your Geary, it is your humble duty, it is your honor to support these sponsors. They love the program, they love supporting it. You need to support them. Thank the sponsors on Twitter, they love that. And if you would like to join the back channel, which is a private email list that Tyler and I hang out on, go to twistlist.co. 200 people have joined the back channel. It's $2 to $200 a month, depending on what you want to donate. And what do we do there? People talk about startups all day long. It's a subset of the 100,000 people who download this every episode of this program. The top 200 of them sit there and obsess over this program, over Tyler's insights. over the guests, over how to run a company, all these great things. And you can join the TWiSTlist.co. I highly recommend it. Go check it out. If you're not on the email list for distribution of like who's going to be on the next episode of the show, not a discussion group, just a straight up distribution, like here's who was on the last program, here's who's on the next program, go to thisweekend.com/email. Thank you to our friends at Waze for providing the space. Thank you to Brandon for taping everything and not breaking the tripod and having a shaky version of the show. Not yet. And everybody, please go check out room77.com, room77.com. What an amazing, amazing service. Congratulations on all your success. We'll see you next time.
You bet. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.